My story started with growing up as a kid and then making lots of crazy, poor decisions, getting into trouble, and then just trying to survive. As I became a teenager into my teenage years, I drank every day before school, during school, after school. Drugs were like my best friend, times where I just tried to find a floor or a couch to sleep on. Our future selves' well being comes at the sacrifice of our present day selves. Abundance doesn't mean having the biggest pile of cash. In so many ways, abundance is a mindset to know that I am enough and that there is enough.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we meet in Matt Paradise. He is an author, a keynote speaker, and financial educator. Hello, Matt. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, and I'm excited and looking forward to our conversation this morning.
Thank you. So let's start our conversation by exploring your personal journey. What inspired you to find your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
So, my story started with growing up as a kid and then making lots of crazy, poor decisions, getting into trouble, and then just trying to survive. So,
Mm,
I grew up in Connecticut and had a family. Both of my parents are still together there in Connecticut, alive. And they moved us from Hartford, which is the capital, to the suburbs or more rural area, actually, in Woodstock, Connecticut, the very northeast corner. And for anybody that's ever looked at research data of where kids are more prone to getting into drinking and drug use, it's in rural areas. There's
uh,
lack of access to creative outlets, the arts or different music. There's not a lot of options besides having a party in a field for the most part. It's a beautiful area, lots of farms, lots of trees, and did some work on different farms, baling hay, things like that. But really as I became a teenager into my teenage years, really was drawn in by drinking and drug use, and
mm,
became what I call alcoholism, even though I was young and some people hesitate to use that term with younger people. I drank every day, before school, during school, after school, used drugs quite a bit as well. So by my sophomore year, my parents gave me the ultimatum: either sober up, straighten up, or get out. And
yeah.
I made the choice. And I think there's part of it that I, at the time, didn't feel like it was a choice because uh, drugs were like my best friend. I didn't know how to break up. And I left. I became a homeless teenager, bounced around. There were times where I slept outside, times where I just tried to find a floor or a couch to sleep on at a friend's house or their parents' house, and eventually found myself living with some other high school teenagers and an older woman where we had insane, crazy parties, and the house was raided frequently by the police because we sold drugs out of that house. And
Yeah.
it was a matter of time before death jail or insanity became my whole paradigm. And I knew that I needed to change. So I moved to Massachusetts to get away from that life. But anybody who's
Mhm.
gone through any type of transformation, tried to change who they were internally, knows that even when we move somewhere, we carry all of our baggage with us. We're still there. We're still the same us. And whether it's with addiction, and for me it's drugs, for listeners maybe you can't necessarily relate and already my story sounds crazy to you, but there are many also process addictions, whether it's gambling, whether it's overspending. Retail therapy is something commonly accepted in our culture, and by and large our economy thrives on shopping and credit card debt and
Right.
consumerism. However, it can become a problem for so many people. And through transformation and change, it's essential that we have both intrinsic as well as extrinsic motivations. So,
Mhm.
internally, that intrinsic motivation, if we don't want to get well, and are prepared to take the steps to get well, then it's unlikely that that transformation will be successful. And for me, that was the case for years. And it
Yes.
was intense. I mean, as a teenager, I overdosed, and people talk about rock bottom. And
Mm.
for me, it wasn't one pivotal turning point that was an aha moment. It was years of struggling and stress and survival. So
Yeah.
a lot of that story of me becoming me today came through just survival. I needed to get by. At the time, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't picture myself surviving to see 20 years old because of, again, the usage, the life, the choices that I was making beyond just the overdose that again, I was still in high school when that happened. And the nurse was the one that called 911 and rushed
Mm-hmm.
to the hospital by ambulance. And the doctor said that it was really a matter of time before my heart was going to give out and needed immediate intervention.
Mm.
I didn't have that desire, will, or even interest at the time to really change. So, that
Mm-hmm.
intrinsic motivation, we need to want, first of all, to get better.
Right.
The extrinsic motivation is also critically important. And external factors can include people who care enough to see a vision for our lives that we might not be able to clearly see in the midst of our junk. And we all have junk, we all have stuff that gets in the way of us becoming all that we can be from reaching our different goals. And we need people close enough who care, just friends along the way. Maybe it's mentors. And I say that now on the other side, in now being a mentor, the importance of just asking, how are you doing really in this country, the United States, where we are, and certainly around the world?
Yeah.
I live in the US, and that's my view and where my expertise is. We have an epidemic of loneliness. The previous Surgeon General actually looked at data statistics, put it out, and said that we are overwhelmed with information, knowledge, but starved for real, true, deep connection. And that affects our mental health and well being. And it's essential that we as people, we need each other. We need each other. I need people in my life today so that I can continue to grow. Now, at the time when I was 18, 19 years old and moving to Massachusetts, I need people just to help me survive, because when we lack hope, and I didn't have hope at the time, but there were suicidal ideations, deep depression. And I, again, didn't think that I'd survive to see 20, but I didn't have hope or a vision for the future. Other
Mm-hmm.
people, again, came into my life by grace and said, Matt, come on out. They invited me into their lives. I played percussion and still do, and I love music. So
Yeah.
a good friend of mine that had a wonderful band, was the Best of Boston band at the time, invited me out to come and play and really
Mm.
built a relationship. We worked together.
Right.
He traveled to the suburbs where I lived in the it's called the Metro West area for those more familiar with Boston. But he traveled from Boston without a car by public transportation and taxi to work one day a
Mm-hmm.
week. And I really feel like it was like an angel. It
Mm.
was somebody sent to really just help me to survive, to get by, who could be that external factor to help bring about transformation so that I could survive past 20 years old. And it was amazing. Eventually, he invited me out to a Bible based drug recovery program. And going through that took time because I was slow to learn, slow to change, slow to really build within me as much intrinsic motivation as the people around me who said, Matt, there's a better life. And for me, that started with sobriety. And I've been sober 25 years now. And
Mm.
it's still just,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. It's still one day at a time. And I know that not everybody can relate or understand drug addiction or drinking. Some can. Given how prevalent the abuse and use of substances is, if a listener can't relate or understand, there's a very good chance someone in their life that's close to you is struggling with that now. But when we think about the broader issue of mental health, it's significant. There's some psychologists who actually state Up to
Mm,
100% of the population at one time or another has struggled from an addiction. And again, that doesn't have to be drug or alcoholism. That can be, as I mentioned, the different process addictions of overspending, shopping, debt,
right.
gambling, but also just checking out. I mean, chemically within the brain, there's a certain process that we're seeking, some on social media and scrolling, the dopamine hit.
Mm,
And that dopamine hit can come in a variety of different ways and a variety of different forms. It's prevalent. So that's why I'm spending time really mentioning this, because it's huge. It's significant for us as individuals, for our loved ones, and for us globally, the mental well-being and health. That's really critical.
wow. Yes, you've been a lot through, going not just one type of addiction, but two different substances that you dealt with. And it was hard for you, especially being a teenager.
Mm,
And perhaps some people who can relate to that, they don't have, I would say, a strong figure in their life that could really talk to them and perhaps have a set an example of how it should be, how you can really go through all of that, and the help is needed. Like you said, external motivation is one part of the whole, I would say, desire to transform or desire to change in your own life, is to have somebody, a support, even one person that could really talk life into you, who can
mm,
set an example, who can be uh, a person that is just really here to listen to you, to care for you, to create that safe space to heal. Because a lot of people feel they are the only one going through that and nobody would understand. But that's not the case. We isolate ourselves on purpose and we create that distance, and we not allowing ourselves to really build that relationship that is needed for the
mm,
health, for the healing to occur, really. And also the intrinsic motivator, which is that desire, it has to be that burning desire, has to be very strong, that could overcome any type of like obstacle, I would say. Because at some point you didn't really feel that you are ready for change, and as long as you're still in that loop, in that pattern, you don't see it, and you kind of like still feeling comfortable in it. And until you feel uncomfortable enough to know that I'm not going to continue, until you know that this is not what I want to see as being part of my life, this is not who I am, and I'm tired of it. It's like you're tired of being tired, you're tired of being sick, you're tired of being lonely, until you understand that this is not who I am and this is not what I want, and something has to change, and I'm taking responsibility for that change. I'm the one who's going to make that change happen. And with you moving to a different city, it was first step. And without that step, nothing would have happened the way that it did, right? So, and that kind of like created the path towards healing.
mm,
And, a lot of times we have that negative scenario in our mind, like imaginary scenario that there is no way out, right? But it's always one step at a time. Once you have that courage, like once you are ready to take that first step, another step will appear on the way. You will
mm.
find those people, programs that will help you, right? And you are now ready. You are reaching for help. You are seeking it. So it's like it will come your way, right? So it's just with you also trusting the process, having faith and hope that there is tomorrow and it's a better tomorrow than there was yesterday. Don't you think?
Yes, most definitely. One of the things that you mentioned and it was the importance of taking life one step at a time. Transformational change in our lives only comes when, like you said, we're uncomfortable enough to want to take that first step towards
Yes.
change. And that takes a lot of bravery. It takes overcoming, feeling like there's insurmountable odds of reaching whatever that the goal is. And maybe our goal is weight loss. Maybe the goal is
Mm,
to feel peace. Maybe the goal is to have more money in our bank account or getting out of debt, or each of us has a different goal and desire, but all related to our overall well-being. And that transformational change comes with that one first step. And that next best step for each one of us is going to be different depending on our situation and our goals, but taking
mm,
it one step at a time. There's a reason why rungs on a ladder or steps on a staircase
yeah.
are only about a foot from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they were spread out in 3 or 4 feet between each step, it'd be difficult. Nobody would want to go up a ladder or up or down stairs,
Right.
but it's one incremental step at a time. And we all, me, myself included, want to reach the
Mm-hmm.
goal as fast as possible. I don't want to go through all the stuff in the middle because that's difficult. It's uncomfortable,
Yes.
sometimes altogether painful. That specific and strategic incremental step is necessary to reaching the transformation that we desire in our lives, whether it's sobriety, again, whatever that it is that we're working towards, it's possible. And that idea of hope that you mentioned is so important.
Mm-hmm.
There is hope. Hope is a strategy. I mentioned for me, survival was my spot. Some say start with why, and that's fantastic. It comes from a place of privilege, though. It comes from a place of some stability to think about living with purpose. Sometimes, if I'm in my darkest of days, thinking about living with purpose is beyond my comprehension because I'm just trying to live one day at a time and get by to
Yeah.
see tomorrow. And when we lack hope for a better future, we tend not to make the best decisions today. We don't imagine our future selves. And
Mm.
it comes, our future selves ultimately, and our future selves well-being comes at the sacrifice of our present day selves. And there's always that tension between our present selves and our future selves. They battle each other because today I want to be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. I want things to go smoothly and be able to do all the things that bring me sometimes happiness or joy. And there's a difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But if I sacrifice my future selves happiness, comfort, stability for that momentary happiness that'll pass, that comes externally, maybe I feel like more money or more things will bring me happiness. They're temporary, they're fleeting, and will disappear. That can jeopardize my future self. So it's that balance between taking that one step at a time, getting out of survival mode, that's essential,
Right.
so that we can then move past scarcity and into a mindset of abundance. And abundance doesn't necessarily mean, and I come from a financial background, personal finance is
Mm-hmm.
my jam. Uh, Abundance doesn't mean having the biggest pile of cash. In so many ways, abundance is a mindset to know that I am enough and that there is enough.
Mm. Definitely. And also, I want to reflect some points here. I think this concept of taking one step after another also comes with building confidence. Like you have to show yourself the evidence that you can, but you can't jump. You first have to show that you can take one step, and then it becomes easier taking another step and another. And you see the change is happening as you go. And also, you have to celebrate those small wins. I think we don't give enough credit to ourselves for what we are doing. We are reaching for that big goal. And sometimes for us to build that confidence, we have to really see what we've been through so far and appreciate that and really give ourselves that recognition. And that will also bring that internal motivation up as well as confidence, and it will become easier to take a next step. And also we have to be committed. You told us that that you know future self if you just have that image in your mind, what ideally, where ideally you want to be, or what you want to be doing in life, what would your ideal self be doing on everyday basis, and what is you not having at this moment. And in order for you to come to that place, you don't want to sacrifice spending your time in that present moment, just like wasting your time, just scattering your attention, allowing yourself to be distracted. If you feel that it's important for you, if you prioritize that, you will be more dedicated, and you commit to that change and commit to taking those steps. So it's also have to become important for you. And an abundance mindset, I think it's very connected to our believe in our self-worth. A lot of times we don't believe that we can have it, really. We think, we compare ourselves to other people, and we think they are better than us in some way for some reason.
Mhm.
We don't see behind the scenes, we only see the image on the Instagram or whatever social media. And again, it comes back to us judging ourselves, being negative to ourselves, putting ourselves down, don't see our self-worth, what we are here to bring to others, and how can I help myself to be the best that I can? What can I do for myself? How can I show myself that love and compassion and allow myself to heal and to really step into that better version of who can I be?
Yeah, that's so critical. Self-talk is powerful. And
Mm,
ultimately, our thoughts become our actions, right? What we
yeah.
think about, what we focus on ends up really coming to life in our day to day. And those actions then become habits, and habits after a while can really just become ingrained, whether it's positive or negative. And eventually
Mhm.
those habits just become a lifestyle. So when we think
Right.
about the lifestyle that we want, it starts with our self-talk, our mindset, our thoughts, and then moving to action, not just being stuck in our minds. I've been there. I
Mm-hmm.
tend to procrastinate and overthink, but done is
Yeah.
always better than perfect. Perfectionism really does kill progress in so many
Mm.
ways. But having love for ourselves, having forgiveness, grace, along the way, we stumble, we fall, we make mistakes, but we can
Mm-hmm.
pick ourselves back up again. If we fall down 7 times, we get back up 8. And it takes love, it takes forgiveness for ourselves and those around us too. We're all people trying to get by, and sometimes we do make mistakes. So the importance of being kind to ourselves and those around us, because we're all fighting battles that
Yeah.
oftentimes we have no idea what's going on behind, like you said, the Instagram or Facebook page, and our real everyday lives. That is
Mm-hmm.
critical. That's so important, because after we really create the lifestyle by repeated patterns and habits, after our thoughts become actions, well, then not only does our confidence grow, but we begin to develop conviction, the conviction
Mm-hmm.
that I must, there's nothing that could stop me on this journey of living a life of purpose. And for each of us, that looks a little bit different, but being able to help others with the best of ourselves is fulfilling in ways that are unimaginable.
Right.
And it really is something that's transformative.
Yeah, and also it's not being selfish. It's really is essential to prioritize our health and well-being in all areas of our life and give ourselves that chance to be that best version that we can be. And like you said, everybody makes mistakes, nobody's perfect. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to pretend to be somebody else, right? Be who you are, embrace that with everything that you've been through, with everything that you're going through. You are a human being. It's normal and it's part of your transformation. And it's just, it looks maybe different for every one of us, but we have to really show that kindness and compassion as if you would show to a child, right? you would not criticize that child for just falling and trying to walk, but you would understand. And you can do the same for yourself and hold that safe space and give yourself chance to become better and better and help yourself, not like putting yourself down, but help yourself with everything that's available right now. If you need help, there are like practitioners out there that could provide that space for you and encourage you. But at the same time, you want to build that resilience within your own, psyche. You have to know that you can, and everything is just up to you, really. Like it's your choice, but you have to start seeing it this way. And I think eventually, once you know what you want to pursue in terms of like passion and career, you have to take steps towards really embracing that and start doing something that you love, because you have to realign with your, I would say, purpose, what you feel that would be the best alignment for you to bring those gifts, to bring those skills into the world and share with other people, because it's like a ripple effect, you know? And with you treating yourself this way, as just you will start really reconnecting with other people on a whole different level, and they will benefit from that. So it's not being selfish, it's essential for you to bring yourself to that place where you can thrive, really.
So true. We can't quench other people's thirst from our own empty cup.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the huge things that I do daily is a practice of gratitude. And not just in my mind, but to really be grateful. And I say be because it's an action. It's the way that I live. And I say practice because it's not perfected.
Mm.
But to be able to, as you said, I love Nelson Mandela's encouragement, one of my favorite speakers, but the importance of celebrating small wins along our
Yeah,
way, because every little victory is worth celebrating. We got
right.
up today. If someone's listening to this, you have the ability to access things like internet and a device to listen and have hearing to be able to hear and have things to be grateful for. And for me,
Mm.
it's sometimes those small things, the fact that I was able to get up on my own volition out of bed this morning, that was a victory. Sometimes
Mm.
those small victories are essential to slow down and acknowledge and celebrate, because it's on those victories that more victories are able to be built. It really is a snowball, an
Yeah.
avalanche type of effect. Because when we continue to be grateful, then we have other things automatically to give to others. Because I
Hmm.
woke up, because I have a voice to project, I can call a friend who I know is hurting.
Mm.
One of my good friends, Brian, lost his dad this morning. And the fact that
Mm.
I can connect with him and know that he's hurting, he's in pain, and just acknowledging that and letting him know that I am here for him as he
Right.
grieves is a world of difference. Being in each other's lives, being able to give of what we have, not what we don't have. Comparison is
Mm.
the thief of joy. And if we picture somebody else's life and feel frustrated that we can't give more, do more, be more, well, then that ends up really killing our confidence.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like the more we focus on what we have and appreciate what is in our life, the more will come to be appreciated of,
Mm.
and it's just like grows that type of gratitude practice is very beneficial for us to really like incorporate in our daily life, as well as perhaps some kind of mindful practices like meditation. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but I feel like if we bring ourselves to the present moment every time and become more aware of what we think, of what's happening, and really like catch ourselves in those negative loop cycles, right? And recognize it and start breaking out of it and start making changes and doing things differently. And that will be the beginning of transformation.
It's so true. One of the things, even for listeners, if you've never heard of box breathing, is something that
Mm-hmm.
I practice. And box breathing is taught in the military. It's something that actually resets our parasympathetic nervous system. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite simply breathing in. I'm in the Northeast, so I count
Mm.
four Massachusetts.
Okay.
And breathe in for four Massachusetts and hold it for four Massachusetts and exhale for four Massachusetts. And if we do that a few times throughout the day, when we start to feel the tension rising or the frustration or the worry or the anxiety or all of the things pile up that need to be done and addressed, and we can all sense that temperature rise when it happens, to take a step back so
Mm-hmm.
that we can reset our parasympathetic nervous system and approach the next best step, whatever that it is. Maybe it's feeding kids, maybe it's going to work and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a coworker. But when we do that from a sober and rational mind, then the outcome is generally always going to be better.
Right. So we need not to be reactive, but respond with intention. And for that, we need to really come back to that present moment and start seeing for what it is, not what triggers us, really. And I think breathing helps us to come back to that peace, to realign ourselves, and to start seeing clearly and taking better decision day by day. And I'm so glad that you shared that with us and for our conversation today. So, for those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
So, my book, Financially Capable, A Friendly Guide to
Mm-hmm.
Building Whole Health Wealth, is where books are sold and you prefer to buy them. Amazon and Barnes and Noble and places like that. My website, mattparadise.com. I have a lot of free resources there. So I'm not just selling stuff. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have courses and stuff online, but I do have free resources for you to access. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, where I'm active and happy to connect.
That's great. Thank you so much. And as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
There is always hope. No matter how dark the days, no matter how great the frustrations, there's always hope.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. You too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.